My name is Gene Shu. I'm an ABC. That's American-born Chinese. As China has become integrated into the global business ecosystem, a lot of Western best management practices have started to trickle into China. At the intersection between America and China, I'm concerned about the lack of cultural awareness on both sides. How you view teams and how you view your relationships and interactions and cooperation with other people. But I'm still optimistic about the future for my unborn son. Generational ABC podcasts are my conversations with my unborn son, one ABC to another, in my attempt to explain our world in context in order for him to make better sense of his world, which will be nothing like the world we live in today. The Chinese system of business is based traditionally, and even still today from just a behavioral standpoint, is based on something that we call Guanxi, and it's based on a system of goodwill and reciprocity. Hey, little buddy. Father again. I guess technically today this is the second video that I'm recording to you, but I kind of was swimming, and of course swimming is exercise, and I'm trying to get in better shape. I want to try to improve my health, mainly because I want to be able to spend a lot of time with you, and I want to make sure that my health enables me to do a lot of the things that I always dreamed about doing with my son, playing sports and being a coach of your team, softball team, baseball team, soccer team, basketball team, whatever. So the inspiration that I got is one of the things that I want to talk about that's quite different about my experience and someone my age who grew up in China is their concept of teamwork. So obviously, as China has become integrated into the global business ecosystem, a lot of Western best management practices have started to trickle into China, and now a lot of it has become kind of like must-have insights for young Chinese professionals who want to expand beyond China. And there's a lot of things that you can learn about finance and processes and project management and marketing. But one of the skills that is difficult to teach is teamwork. And that's because how you view teams and how you view your relationships and interactions and cooperation with other people, that's kind of really deeply embedded into the environment in which you were raised. So I grew up playing Little League baseball when I was, I think, 6 years old, church basketball when I was probably 6 or 7, and even soccer, because I have those photos of me when I was younger and I was playing those sports. I would say that anybody in China that was born in 1999 and later, which is 20 years ago, anyone who was born before that would not even have access to what we consider team activities or team sports. And of course, more and more of that is available in China today. But my impression is the majority of Chinese kids who have access to this kind of team sports that we grew up with here in the United States is still a very small percentage. And even a larger percentage of those who actually engage in team sports, and I guess the really only one that's popular in China now is basketball. And there's some baseball, but that's only with people who are in international schools, which means they are growing up and participating in these sports with a lot of non-Chinese kids whose parents are in China, and they want to send them to international schools. So you can play baseball, for example, there. I do know that baseball is slowly trying to enter the China market. Basketball is already there, but the real availability of kind of Western style kind of basketball coaches and teams and leagues is still limited. And it's especially limited to just the first tier cities like maybe Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. But when you get into second tier cities and lower, none of that is really available. Now, it doesn't mean that basketball courts aren't available. It just means that growing up and being part of a basketball team and a basketball league is generally still not available to the majority of the Chinese population. And the thing that I look back in hindsight and translate that into how I view interacting, working with other people in a business sense is, and I compare that with, Chinese people that I cooperate with or collaborate with. So the Chinese system of business is based traditionally, and even still today from just a behavioral standpoint, is based on something that we call Guanxi, and it's based on a system of goodwill and reciprocity. And basically it's the exchange of favors, and it's I do you something, I do a favor for you, and you kind of in return need to do something for me. And just at a fundamental level, that's how kind of relationships are viewed in China. But here in a more Western style environment, especially here in America, relationships are based on more of what common interests do we have. And the majority of common interests that people have in the United States is art, music, and sports, and other types of kind of discretionary activities. So the real discretionary activity that kind of really may bond the majority of Chinese people today that's not work-related or Guanxi related is probably travel. But you will find exceptions. Obviously, a lot of the younger generation, people born after, let's say, 1990, 1999. I mean, the younger generation, obviously, they're interested in music and art and a lot of things like that. But it's just going to be interesting how that evolves over time, because by the time you are of working age, your counterparts in China shouldn't be that much different than you. They will adopt more Western kind of concepts and ideas about teamwork, collaboration, sports, partnering, and all of that stuff. And you will probably grow up in a world that has more Chinese cultural elements included as China's influence continues to increase. So at this snapshot in time, it's just interesting that these are the trends where China is trying to adopt kind of more Western values, but they're not there yet. And people doing business in China today, you might be interacting with people in their early 20s to the mid 50s. The majority of those people will not have those values and same understanding of teamwork, because what you value at the end of the day is different. So in a very abstract way, Westerners would value results, but it's not individual results, it's more like team results. What are we able to achieve as a team? And Chinese would value more, how do I look based on my participation or contribution to this endeavor or project. And it's more about recognition. And of course, it's not black and white. Obviously, a lot of Americans seek recognition and acknowledgement of their contributions too, but it's just in an abstract sense, that's one of the differences or dichotomies between Chinese culture and American culture in a snapshot. And it'll just be really interesting to see how that evolves over time, especially over the next 5 to 10 years, as again, there's this accelerated pace of China exerting or increasing its influence, not just economically and militarily, but also culturally across the world, and even coming over to this part of the world, which would be America. All right, so again, just in case I get busy and I'm not able to record an episode, I recorded 2 today, but as people are consuming it, it's still going to be 1 a day. And I just really enjoy these conversations. Hopefully by season 2, you will have a name, and I'll start calling you by your name. But you don't have a name yet, so it's still little buddy. All right, love you, buddy. Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or YouTube.